Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. My name is Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined Mr. James Dean. And you know what? Let's bring him on down. How you doing today, James?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, my friend James. We met at an event in Atlanta from Mass Mutual back in August. Really excited to have you on, talk about you, your why you got into the business, all the things that you do. But first question, James,
Sure.
what does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
I think it means alignment to me, just to make sure that, for one, you know who you are, right? And then to make sure that you have that alignment so your social circle, whatever you're doing, is aligned with your authentic self. So knowing yourself is one of the things.
You know what, James? I really like that response around alignment, but also alignment to your inner circle. I
Right.
feel if you're being authentic, your inner circle is going to know who you really are at your core. They're going to
That's right.
know the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the good days, the bad days, and they're going to be there for you no matter what. I feel if you're an individual who is trying to put on a front or has a mask on for their inner circle, for anybody in general, but especially your
Sure.
inner circle, you're an
Sure.
individual that's living an unfulfilled, very non-purpose driven life. What are your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, and I think that's the first thing, right? I'm a man of faith, so the good book says, "Out of the heart flows the issues of life," right? And so I just think that our life is all about looking inward and studying your own heart and your own core values and making sure you're good. And then you can go out in the world and connect the different relationships because this life is all about your managing your vertical and your horizontal relationships. That's what it's really about.
James, please tell us a bit about yourself, your backstory, and then the work that you're doing in the finance and slash insurance space.
Little bit about myself. My son said that I copied this from LeBron, but I promise you I've been saying this for a long time. But I'm just a young guy that was from Sanford, North Carolina, a small town, more eastern North Carolina, close to Wake County, in between Wake and Cumberland County. I grew up. My dad was crazy enough back in the day. We're known for tobacco, and we're also known for being the brick capital of North Carolina. So I grew up with my dad being a general contractor, working on homes, electrician. I grew up doing blue collar work, but I also had the opportunity. Sanford is a unique place. We have one of the first black owners of McDonald's. When I was growing up, one of the barbers, he had a polarizing personality. His name was John Wayne Head, and he was in the who's of black millionaires when I was growing up, 10, 11 years old. Right, I got an opportunity to see my grandfather, my dad's dad, impact the community, blue collar, steel mill, those things. But I also got to see my grandfather, my mother's dad, switch from being blue collar to actually running for the board of education, being the first black, and then being one of the first black social work supervisors. So when you look at my life and the moxie of Sanford, North Carolina, it's a small town, but it has character. All of those things are that I live through those things every day. And so that's kind of my backstory.
Now, this is awesome. I actually live in Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina. I'm only
Right,
about 20 minutes from Sanford, North
right,
Carolina. And I have one of our big time collaborative partners, Mr. Daniel Brody, actually lives in Sanford.
there
So
you
I'm
go.
always seeing Sanford. Like when I go home off of 540 going to Fuquay, I actually end up getting off before the Holly Springs and taking Route 1, which goes towards Sanford. And then from there, I cut across Jordan Lake, the
There you go.
backside coming on into Fuquay. So I live and I literally see Sanford almost every single day. I sign for Route 1 Sanford every single day when I'm either taking
Right.
my daughter to school, coming back home, picking her up, going back. And I go that route almost every single day. So that's awesome. But now tell us more about how you got into the industry, the work you're doing today in that regard.
Yeah, so I really got in the industry. It's a calling, right? So we were just really talking about being authentic. And I had an opportunity. I was transitioning, right? You look at my life, like I told you, I was always in a place of blue collared people and being able to work with family members. So growing up, I always had side cash, right? And so I don't know what it was, but it was like life allowed me to get married, have kids, and then I go through this money transition, right? And that was the time to really show me character and tough times develop character. And so I was going through a tough time. I got laid off, right? I was with a company for 10 years. I was a trainer, kind of a job coach. I transitioned and was doing this IT support, and doing the IT support, they had a massive layoff, and so I had an opportunity to take a look at my life, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know. I had everything stacked against me, and what I heard in my heart was be patient and look for purpose. And so I have a mentor who's my uncle, and he was running the advanced market department. He's um, of New York Life. He's an attorney, a state attorney, and big time in the industry. And he used to tell me all the time. He used to say, "Hey, you love people and you love counting money. You ever thought about getting in our industry?" And I was like, "No way. I grew up blue collar. Like I'm not a suits guy." And so one day I had an opportunity to drive 3.5 hours for a 20-minute interview. And I drove 3.5 hours for a 20-minute interview with my wife in the car and my baby son. And I got in the interview, and I wasn't the guy that I am now. I didn't have the personality, right? I hadn't developed those soft skills. I was more of a service, analytical person. And so I get in this 20-minute interview, and guess what the guy says? You suck. Right? It was like, man, no, this is not for you. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like,
Ah,
I gotta go back out. I've driven 3.5 hours. I don't have the resources. And I gotta go back out and have this conversation. And so as I'm standing up, he's giving me this token and saying, "Hey, you got to get out the garage. This is how you validate your parking." And I said, "No, it's okay." I said, my car is parked out front." And he was like, "Well, why did you park your car out front?" I said, "Well, my wife and my son is in the car." And he said, "Well, why is your wife and your son in the car?" I said, "Well, I drove from Kernersville." And he said, "There's no Kernersville, South Carolina." I said, "No, I drove from North Carolina." And he looked at me. And he said, "Anybody that would drive 3.5 hours for a 20-minute interview, I can teach you the rest." And that was the beginning of my career.
mm. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I love this because what I'm hearing from James is that he showed the dedication, he showed the will. You know, there's a great saying, right, James? Attributes over skills, right?
Mm,
Attributes over skills, which means the internal grit, the ability to be
right.
resilient
That's
is
right.
way more important than the skills you have externally at your job. Because again, James said it so beautifully. You can get taught those things. Someone can
Right.
teach you how to do those things, but they can't teach you grit or
Right.
perseverance or resilience. And there's a great quote, James. I would love to get your thoughts on this quote before I get into how you help your clients. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor. Smooth seas
Okay.
never made a skilled sailor. Like I said one more time. Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. FDR. So what he's saying is when times are easy, you don't develop the skills that are necessary to push through hardship or push through adversity. That's where you learn are through the rough seas, the rough patches, the rough times. What are your thoughts on that quote? Smooth seas never made skilled sailors, FDR.
Yeah, that's a great saying, and I'm gonna have to steal it from you, right? But you're talking about some of the things that I talk to. So when you look at my role is more of I'm a coach now, and I really teach personal development and leadership within my industry. And one of the things we talk about is grit, right? You're going to get kicked in the face, right? Choose your heart, right? So you're going to get kicked in the face. You choose your heart. Do you want your heart to be over here and you're still not making any money? You still hadn't figured out what you need to do, or do you want your heart to be over here where you're successful, you're making money, but it's still hard, right? Because it's hard on both ends, right? So I think grit, and I think really knowing yourself. I think during tough times, what the situation is really trying to do is pull out of you what was already in you, but you wasn't aware of it. And so, being a man of faith, I really believe in my personality. I had those things, but they were lying dormant. And when it was time for it to rise to the top, I allowed myself to grow. And I allowed those tough things to pull out of me the person that was sitting in the back. And so tough times, it's like you when you're playing professional football. The only way you build muscles is through resistance. And so we run from resistance, but it's like, no, man, these are character and integrity muscles that you're getting. And the only thing that it's doing is helping you get to the next season of your life, is getting you strong enough for the next season of your life, because you'll never be where your character can't keep you. God is never going to put you where your character can't keep you. So during those situations, you're building character for that next season of your life, because you're going to need all of those tools and that toolkit for that season.
I'm taking note of something, James. Character. And I tell people this all the time. Hardships, storms, they don't test your character, they reveal it.
There you go.
Hard times don't test your character, they reveal it. And it's such an important factor. I love this. Can you explain to people, James, how you go about taking care of people in your charge to make sure they have the attributes and the skill sets? But of course, you're helping them to continue to strengthen the attributes like grit, determination, all that. But you're also teaching them the skill sets that are needed. Because 80% of people who get into the insurance or financial space, they quit within a 1 year period.
Correct.
Almost 80% quit within a 1 year period because they don't have the attributes, and they end up not feeling that the skills they are amassing are good enough, and they walk away. So how do you help your team really be in the 20% that keep going and keep moving no matter what?
Yeah, and that's a great question, right? And it's something we're trying to solve nationally. So when you talk about what I do, I'm going to Washington, D.C. I'm one of the people that go and talk to the policyholders. I do this through FINSECA, which stands for Financial Security for All. It's the largest trade association. So I was in Virginia Fox's office talking about the big, beautiful bill, right? And so being a leader in the industry, I take pride in that and having that impact. And so one of the things that I talk to advisors about is they have a hard time connecting the dots. So they're getting taught. There's a good book out called E-Myth Revisited, and it talks about entrepreneurship, the manager in you, and then the technician, right? So they get in the industry, and economics calls them the widget maker. So you say, hey man, I'm good at making this phone, right? And so that's the technician. But what you don't realize is that you have to make a lot of those phones every day, right? And so it's less about product and it's a little bit more about managing your systems and your processes, right? That's the logistics of the industry, right? And then the entrepreneur is about the visionary, looking out in the future and making sure that you're relevant today. So one of the things that I talk to advisors about is push the product aside, push the technical part about the industry aside, and really look at what is your purpose. I really believe I help advisors find their purpose, right? And not be transactional. Because there's a group of people, if they're their authentic self, what we're talking about, that they can go and serve, that organically they're going to connect to, that I wouldn't be able to connect to, right? And it could be based on their story, their upbringing, whatever it is, something they're currently going through. I have a young lady that's currently going through a divorce. And the first thing I told her to do, I said, start blogging and start journaling. And all the little things that you're doing, you're going to forget about it 5 years from now. But that's a toolkit for a woman that's going through a divorce, right? And so I help you connect and really find out, what's my purpose? What's my cause? How can I help these people outside of this financial instrument? So one of the practices I'll do, I'll say, hey, let's put products aside. Tell me your value outside of these products. Tell me what you can do. Tell me how you can help people. And then that really starts connecting them to their why and understanding their mission and their vision. And then the financial product is more or less just part and parcel of what they do. But it's very small because what we're selling is ourselves. That's our what makes us unique. Our blue ocean strategy is us. It's our story. It's the fact that I have 3 kids. It's hey, I married my wife in college. Like those stories are going to connect to certain people. And so that's how I really help people. That's the development part. The other part is you have to skill up. We can say that other communities don't respond to us a certain kind of way, but I always tell people this, and I don't get into the Jordan and LeBron debate or Kobe Bryant, but I am a Michael Jordan guy. I'm an 80s baby, right? But everybody came to see Michael Jordan and LeBron play. If an alien came down from Mars right now, they're going to sit their butt in the seat, have some popcorn, and they're going to see the best, right? So the best attracts everybody. So if you're hitting a wall, skill up because everybody wants to work with the best. Believe it or not, after you get past everything, everybody wants to work for with the best. So that's one of the things that I say: control what you can control and skill up. Because everybody came to see Mayweather, everybody came to see Muhammad Ali. Now they came to see Muhammad Ali and Mayweather get knocked out, but guess what? They came to see him. And so that's the skill up part.
James, fantastic interview. How can people get in touch with you? They'd like to find out more information about what you do with your team.
Yes, I will actually give my mobile out. My mobile is 336-655-9236. My LinkedIn handle is James Q. Dean. They can Google me at James Q. Dean. They can see that I've won some national awards. They can see the community impact that I've had. I was just a part of the North Carolina cohort that was produced by the Duke Foundation. I think I was the only person that represented the business sector. Everybody else was a politician or a policy, help with policy. And so I'm in the community. I want to make a difference. I'm not transactional. It's not about the transaction. It's really about the mission of closing the wealth gap and making sure everybody is educated and they can make a good decision for them and their family.
Love it. Again, everybody reach out to James through cell phone, give him a call, chat with him, have conversation. We really appreciate this awesome interview. And again, ladies and gentlemen, here's the authentic tip. In life, push yourself to be the best. As you heard James say, people want to be around, work with, engage the best. So come to the table, be ready to be the best of the best, give your best, elevate yourself, and just keep going after being the best. Because when you're the best and you keep humble and you keep working like you're not the best, but you are the best, people flock to you, and that's the place. You want to attract the clients you want to work with, not chase them. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.